Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at the 10 most inappropriate games you played as a kid. We all remember playing games as kids. Sure, some of them were innocent, but some weren't so much, and parents and teachers were never pleased if they found you playing them. Stay with me as I give you a nostalgia trip, and you can vote in the poll at the end for how many of these inappropriate games you played. Before we get started, be sure to check out my new channel, The Crafty. There's a link in the top right corner, so please do check it out. Coming in at number 10, we have Carrier. This was thought of as a fairly harmless game back then, but looking back, it really wasn't that harmless. The game went by many names and is very simple. One kid would be given a ball and then the entire playground would run after them and try and take them down. It wasn't in the official rules, but the idea was to slam whoever had the ball to the ground as hard as he could. Parents and teachers really despised this game and it was banned in many schools. However, as kids, we took a whole lot of joy into piling on to whichever poor kid had the ball. However, this game wasn't totally innocent. There were instances of kids being seriously injured while playing this, even if they weren't holding the ball. Over 1,000 kids went to hospital in 2002 thanks to this game, which caused hundreds of US schools to ban it. Did you used to play this game and pile onto your friends, or was Carrier on your school's no-no list? Next up is GTA. Unlike some of the other inappropriate games we used to play as kids, this one is a video game. Sure, there is an 18+ rating on this game, or R rating if you're in the USA, but as kids we likely all played it anyway. In the game you do it all, from stealing cars to taking people's lives with the press of a button. Some today say that what kids do in video games leads to them doing similar stuff in the real world. A lot of people aren't so sure about this, and say video games have no effect on your real life behavior. But whatever your point of view is, GTA does offer some messed up stuff for us to see as kids. However, if you were a kid in the late 90s or early 2000s, you'll remember schools warning parents to check up on their kids' video game habits. Back then, GTA Vice City and San Andreas was out, and a study found that 60% of kids in high school who were under 18 had played GTA before. This drove some parents crazy, as some kids desperately tried to hide their copies of the game in boxes of less triggering games. Do you guys have any fond memories of stealing cars and popping caps into anyone who crossed you, or were your parents just a little too strict? Next up is Slingshot. This is the 90s version of paintball. While today we have $1,000 iPhones or VR devices, kids used to have fun with a slingshot and a few rocks. Usually a game of slingshot would be a few friends slingshotting rocks at trees and mailboxes. That was until someone would get bored and would fire a rock at another friend. This then broke out into a slingshot battle with either everyone against everyone or in teams. This game was played a whole lot and was a lot of fun. Back then you likely didn't have a care in the world while playing this, but today we hopefully realize how dangerous this really was. This game turned hundreds of kids blind and hurt a whole lot more. In fact, games of Slingshot usually ended when somebody got hurt. When the person got hurt, everyone either ran home or ran to check on them. Oh yeah, and make sure they didn't tell their parents about what happened. That was a biggie. Next up is Red Rover. This game went by many names and was played in schools all across America and the world. The game was most commonly called Red Rover for some reason, and the concept was simple. Children would link arms to form either a circle or a line. Then one elected child would have to try and break the chain of linked arms. This meant by any means necessary, which often led to biting, scratching, and pulling on people's arms. It was all in good fun, but as you can predict, a lot of kids got hurt. This prompted many teachers and parents to crack down on this game, and one school in Canada even outright banned the game after one kid broke his arm. The game was not popular with parents, as a lot of kids got hurt while playing this. One school in Michigan, USA had over 20 PTA meetings over the course of 2 years about the game, as parents said it was all in good fun, but teachers disagreed. Do you think this game is all fun, or is it too dangerous to play in the schoolyard? And do you have any fond or not so fond memories of playing this risky game? Next up is JARTS. Today we have trends like Pokemon Go and fidget spinners. But back in the 70s and 80s, JARTS were all the rage. You'll remember them if you grew up back then, but if you're younger, these are basically lawn darts. They were large metal darts that you would throw into rings in your backyard. It was supposed to be a fun family game that kids could play, but unfortunately this wasn't always the case. Some kids began throwing these darts at each other as a game. These darts were all metal and would really hurt if one hit you. Thousands of kids were injured thanks to these, and in the summertime, 60% of all child hospital visits involved JARTS. And one kid even lost their life thanks to a JART. This sparked a national outcry to do something, so in 1989, the US government banned these lawn darts. Do you think this ban was too harsh, or is it justified seeing as how many kids got hurt? Some say the government are pansies for banning a game, but others disagree. What do you think? Next up, we have Spin the Bottle. This is one game we played as kids, but mainly as teenagers. And unlike some of the games on this list, this one is still popular today. The concept is simple: a group of kids sit in a circle and spin a bottle. Then whoever the bottle points to has to kiss the person opposite them. Now this may seem harmless to kids, but parents of the 80s and 90s did not feel the same way. Most parents would get pretty angry seeing their kids making out with their friends in their family room. Kids loved the excitement and romantic nature of this game, but this is one of the most despised games by parents, and for a lot of kids, their parents didn't let them play this in the house. Today it might just seem like a movie cliche, but this game used to be super popular. Have you ever played this game? And if so, did your parents get mad? Next up is Shopping Cart. This game goes by a lot of names, from the shopping cart game to karting to Crash. But whatever you used to call this game, it's another one which seems fun as a kid but is really very dangerous in hindsight. The game would involve a group of kids finding an abandoned shopping cart or simply stealing one from a store. Metal drums and big tires also worked if you couldn't get your hands on a cart. Then you would simply push each other down the biggest hill you could find. This was fun and definitely a rush, but as you can imagine, it resulted in injury. A lot of injury. This game caused missing teeth, broken bones, and in some cases, comas. But luckily, as far as I know, nobody has lost their life from playing this game. Despite that fact, most parents were not keen at all for their kids to be rolling down large hills and getting their teeth smashed out of their face. You likely now cringe at how dangerous this was, but back then it seemed like innocent fun. Coming up next is Mortal Kombat. Like GTA, this is another video game a lot of us probably played as kids. The game was released in 1992 and was a staple in many 80s and 90s kids' lives. The game was an MMA action game with great graphics for its time. The figures seemed so realistic as they pummeled each other and kids ate it up. So, what made this game so inappropriate? Well, much like a lot of the games on this list, it was adored by kids, but not so much by schools and parents. Kids began trying out these moves on each other in class, which led to injuries and detentions. And seeing as you could rip out your opponent's heart, some parents called this game excessive. As video games have got more and more extreme, this may be normal for kids today, but back then this was very new and scary for parents. Did you used to play this game? And if so, should kids be allowed to play this or not? Next up is Choking Game. This is a very dumb fad game which I'm personally glad is no longer a thing. The game was as dumb and crazy as it sounds. You would either do this to a friend or a friend would do it to you. Your neck would be held until you passed out. This delivered a rush and kids often couldn't remember what happened once they came to. This seemed like fun to some, but obviously not to anyone with a little sense. But some kids don't have this and took it too far. This caused a lot of incidents, and after the media picked it up, it caused a nationwide panic. Schools then really began to crack down on this and make sure nobody was doing it. It was big in the 90s, but thankfully now it seems like a thing of the past. Unlike some of the other games on this list, I hope nobody thinks this is okay to do today. Next up is Twister. This game is one which seems harmless depending on the nature it's being played in. Some play it at family functions and it's all innocent. But while this game can just be fun in games, sometimes it can turn into something more inappropriate. Sometimes kids at parties would do this and get into odd positions with girls. This was usually just fun in games, but sometimes parents would walk in and take things the wrong way. This game is more fun than dangerous, but it is estimated that a few kids every year do end up in hospital thanks to Twister. Have you ever played Twister? And if so, was it in an innocent way or not so much? Twister can get pretty wild, and if you go to many college frat parties today, it will still be played. At these frat parties, not only do they play inappropriate Twister, but sometimes it leads to other things. Yeah, when I say this is a game kids play, I more mean teens. It only takes a few minutes of searching online to find some Twister games that went wrong. These are sometimes at houses and parties, but also Twister events. That's right guys, even if you go to the official Twister event, you may still be injured or worse. Now luckily Twister is nothing like JARTS, so you probably won't lose your life. But one thing that can and does happen with a game of Twister is things getting a bit hot and heavy. But whether you were inside playing Mortal Kombat or out on the streets playing Slingshot, I hope you can remember something thanks to this video. Vote in the poll in the top right corner to let everyone know how many of these games you tried out as a kid. Be honest, guys. And guys, as I mentioned before, check out The Crafty. It's my new channel and I think it's great. You guys are gonna love it, and there's amazing videos of crafts, DIYs, and fun experiments. If you comment on the latest Crafty video saying you subscribe, you'll get a shout out in the next top 10s video, so definitely do that too. On screen right now are some examples of shout outs, so if you want to be in the next video, then simply go over to The Crafty and comment saying you subscribe. It's very easy to get a shout out, guys. Simply head over to the latest Crafty video posted yesterday and comment saying you subscribe. Absolutely anyone who does that will appear on the next top 10s video, kind of like you're seeing right now. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now, leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.